Dividend returns are free money. Don't believe me? Well, let's hope I can convince you otherwise on this episode of the BHE Podcast. Hit it. Welcome to episode 2 of the BHE Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Mercer, as always. Whether you're coming live from the podcast, live on the internet from YouTube, welcome to the show. So today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people my age don't really pay attention to. And to be honest, neither did I. Until one day I realized that, the classic 9 to 5 wasn't going to cut it for my life. I had way more desires, way more aspirations for my life. And obviously just saying that out loud sounds outlandish. I totally get that. I'm not stupid. I know what that sounds like. And a lot of other people get the same backlash. But again, if you're listening and this is the only thing you get from this podcast, this is super important, okay? Amongst other human beings, especially when you have different ideas and everyone else has the exact same idea and you say something like that, you will be seen as crazy. You know why? Because you're breaking the status quo. Or if you want to get scientific with it, like homeostasis, right? You're different than the other people, than the ones around you. So what did the other people do? They want to fit in, so they merge the ideas of the other people, even if they don't mean to. It's a classic case of homeostasis. I mean, it's human nature. But if you get to the point where you realize that, man, I can't do it, and that's me. I can't do it. It's not that I don't want to, or that I'm lazy, or that I'm just, sick of doing hard work. I totally get that. Like, I have a good job. I love my job. But there's more to, there's more value for my life than kind of just doing the status quo. And a lot of people think you're selfish for doing so. You're, you stay within your box, dude. Stay within your box. You're going to get that all the time. But I think it's time we all break out of it. I'm sick of seeing people suffering. I'm sick of seeing people having to do the same thing over and over, day in and day out, with the same unhappy smile. I say let's break the status quo. We could change it into something spectacular. Now, leading off from there into this, we're talking about one aspect of how we can turn that desire you have into an actual attainable goal, with something I like to call stock dividends and dividend returns, and different ways on how you can effectively create passive income through the stock market and using your finances to work for you, not you putting time in to get finances, which is a whole big aspect of how people even generate wealth nowadays. Now, I know what that sounds like. It sounds super, to me it was super hard. I didn't want to learn about it. But just to level it out, to give you the straight out definition. The definition of a dividend, and I have the definition right here, is a sum of money paid regularly, typically quarterly, by a company from its profits or its reserves. So when you invest in the company, the basically your gift for choosing to invest in them is a dividend. And again, not all companies give out dividends. Not all companies can afford to, but the ones that do, there's your gift. Thank you. Here you go. Right? Now, catch 22, you got to put money into it, right? You have to buy the stock. You have to be a shareholder in that stock. And again, it should be pretty easy. It's a catch 22. But the basic idea here is that just like society is wrong for thinking that you're an out-of-the-box thinker because you don't think like they do, their view on how to create wealth through the stock market is flawed, absolutely flawed. And the easy way to figure that out is when I first started getting into dividends and stock returns and yields and things like that, I had to look at myself and go, well, what are the people who actually are successful at it? What do they have to say? And the obvious one that everybody knows is Warren Buffett, but they only take the one sentence, he's the richest stock investor in the history of the stock market, right? That's all they get. That's what they know. All they know. But the rest that he tells you is how he made his money, which it wasn't immediately at my age at 23. He was a millionaire and turned into a billionaire. What it was is you start small like everybody else, but then he focused on dividend returns. For example, like Coca-Cola, like he himself, his company, Berkshire Hathaway, I think it's Berkshire Hathaway, yeah, they get close to $1 million a day just in dividends from Coke. So that's he literally quoted saying that dividends is how he made all his money. So the view on society is wrong, which is trying to find that next Google, the next Amazon, because you're going to have a better chance of winning the lottery than you will at finding the next Google or Amazon. So that's just completely out there, and that's what Warren Buffett says. He says that dividends are the only proven, not the only proven way to create actual wealth in the stock market, but the company can't fake a dividend. There's going to be a paper trail. If they can afford to pay you, they will pay you. And a good, easy thing, there's plenty. We have the internet nowadays. This is before he had the internet. Okay, we have the internet. I can go onto Google, type in a company, see if they pay dividends now, how long they've been paying it, and the length of time on how long they've been paying it, and it takes me about 30 seconds. And then you can take that information, you can base it off of how long the company's been stable, how well they manage their assets and properties, what was their profit last quarter. We have access to all the information. It's out there. You literally just have to take the time to do it. And obviously put in work and do the research. But again, that's the simple way. They can't fake a dividend. You either get it or you don't. And if you don't, you're going to see a paper trail. But the difference, again, with that is I forgot to mention another good guy. His name's John C. Bogle. If you've ever heard of the Vanguard Company, he wrote a book called Common Sense Investing, and that's also on dividend returns and on different mutual and index funds on what to invest in and how, on average, those return more than the actual market itself. So that's a good book too. I would definitely read that and look it up. It's chalk. I've highlighted that thing 1,000 times. But another word that you might hear tossed around when you hear dividend is a distribution. Now, distribution and dividends are very, very different. Distribution is usually from like an REIT, which is a real estate trust fund or investment trust fund. You will get distribution from them. Stocks, they'll pay you the dividends. So, and again, the word's different, and they come from different. For example, an REIT is on the stock market, but anyway, the basis level for this is that distribution, other than being almost word for word the exact same in the dividend, is that a distribution comes from a cash earning or a ROC or a return of capital from that company. So, and a return of capital is an assessment of a company's ability to efficiently allocate the capital under its control. So the money that it has, in its bank, the profit that it makes, how well does it return that and manage that? That's essentially what the ROC is. So, and that's a good way to value a distribution cost too as well. You can look at that again. You can just go on the internet and find it. You can find anything on the internet. So dividends are, like we said, they're either from the profit that they made this year, the company, or from reserves that they have set aside just for dividends for you, for the shareholder. But Warren Buffett talks about using the dividends to make wealth, right? But they totally disregard that completely. But when you jump to it and you go through and say, well, what does he mean by, how do dividends create the wealth, Do I just put a bunch of money in and then get the dividends back? He goes, the important part is reinvesting the dividends you get from the company back into the company that gave you the dividends. For example, the money he got from Coke, right, for the dividends, saved it, took it, reinvested it back in. So he makes the profit. They pay him 4 times a year. He takes that money, puts it back into the company. And it just, to complete, over here's where you start, here's where you get it. It's just a big circle. Just keep doing it over and over again. I had a funny example here too. So for example, the market from 1994 to 2019. I was born in 96, by the way. The market has risen 7.7% just by itself, the market. But if you include dividends, it increases to 9.8, okay, which is higher than the return of the market as a whole. So when you hear someone say that the market, it's the only way to beat the market. I forgot who said it. I heard Tony Robbins talking about it, but he was saying that dividends and certain funds, again, we are not talking about funds, we're talking about dividends alone, can return you more profit than the market. So it's baffling to me that I was never taught this. I actually learned this whole process started just from me being basically, I had to reshift my focus on my social media platform. So when I went from what are my friends doing to more learning oriented options on social media, it opened my eyes to a lot of different definitions, a lot of different terms, and a lot of different people that you can look up, you can research, and you can do the work yourself. And I mean, obviously everybody's different, but me, I love doing that research. Like, I love going on there. I love learning all of that. I love to just have that in the back of my mind, and to know that if ever an opportunity comes up, if something, I go, oh, I've seen that before. You know, other people haven't seen that. I've seen that before. I know about that. People don't. It's really fun for me to do that. So when I shifted my focus from, caring about what others and what my friends were doing, and focusing on, my life and where I'm going to take it, and just learning, a whole different focus just showed up. Whole different attitude in my life showed up. And I wouldn't take that back for the world at all. But now, so back to the percentage, that 9.8 percentage of which is like 7%, 7.2% higher than the average market will return to your money. That's an average. So obviously it's been low. 2008, Great Depression, really low drops, and then really high drops. So, low could be Depression era, 2%, really low percent return on that. High percent could be 17 to 18. I've seen a bunch. So when you average out the two, it's like a bell curve. You have low down here, high over here. In the middle is your 10% almost. So again, it's not always going to return 10% every year all the time. It's just that's an average. And that's just since I've been alive. So 9.8% since I've been alive. Now, before you start, so now that you have the information about dividends, kind of a general idea, and that they will return you a profit, doesn't mean that if they have a high dividend amount, that it's the best one to go for. So, for example, the dividend trap is that if you look at a company that gives you, a really high percentage compared to its cost, right? And you put your money into that, but you just, they just started doing that. There's no longevity to it. You're basically doing what society told you to do. When it comes to the stock market, you're trying to find the next big payout, which isn't going to happen. Excuse me. So, before you just go investing into ones that pay dividends for you, I definitely recommend that you do one of three things. One, do the research. Super simple. I've talked about it for the last 10 minutes. Do the research, look it up. The longevity of the company, how long have they paid dividends, and how much has it been consistent. For example, Ford is about 4%, which is about 15% a share. It's 9.10 right now, okay? And they've paid that for the last 20 years. Obviously, it was tougher in, when they had to get that bailout, but they still paid dividends from that. It was still 5 cents. So it's 15 now. It was 5 then in the low point. So they still paid out through that time. And again, they took a lot of backlash for it, but they got rid of. Now they just do SUVs and trucks, but they realized that maybe cars aren't our money makers right now. We don't want to hit the level we did back then. So they're reassessing the company. They're doing the right choices. That's easy research. Classic dividend stock, good beginner stock. Again, one share is $9. It's how I got started with it. So now when you're doing that, you're going to find something in your research called a dividend payout ratio, right? Okay, so this is how I easily remember it. So the payout ratio is the dividends over a period of time over their earnings. So if that ratio, when you see it, so when I go to look that up, it'll be on the far right. It'll be one of the categories that you look at. If it's over 100%, do not do it. That's a big red flag. It means they are paying out more than they are bringing in. Pretty simple. Do not put money in a company that cannot manage its profits accountably. That's not, even if they pay a high amount, because that could just be what they're trying to do. If they pay a high amount, it's more than they're making. They're needing money. They're trying to get people like you to give them the money so they can continue to go with the company. But then if they go under, you're out that money. So that kind of research is really important too. Now, there's 5 tips that I've learned from the Common Sense Investing book that I told you about by John C. Bogle that determine a good dividend stock. So I thought someone was there. So in the first 5, so you have the first one, is how relative is its strength? Is the overall yield attractive? The yield percentage, the attractiveness of that percentage. The reliability of the dividend payouts, like I told you, how long. The uptrend, are they going up in dividends? Have they stayed consistent in their payout of dividends? And then obviously the company's ability to earn money, they're earning growth. So relative strength is a term that they take as an average of the stock based on a period of time between 50 to 200 days, and then kind of a relative average. So it's shifting. It can be 50 to 200. It's shifting, and that's just your assumption, your kind of guesstimate of how well the company is. It's a gauge on how well the company is doing in strength-wise. And then the overall yield percentage. I mean, if it's high, like we just talked about, if it's too high, then they're paying out too much that they can't afford to do anymore. If it's a good amount, if it's a good, decent percentage, you got a pretty good shot, right? So, and then we talked about the reliability. How many years has it been? How have they been paying out? Is it simple? Is it uptrending? How consistent is the company when it's paying out these dividends? And obviously, how much profit is the company making? So I know I'm flashing a bunch of just bullet point information at you, but I wanted to make sure I got out all of this stuff from my notes out there before I just started going off and talking more in depth about this. So this isn't going to be a simple process. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to be like, in 5 years you're going to be a gajillionaire, right? Warren Buffett didn't make any of his real money till his 40s, which was about 20 years of doing this process. And I mean, that was still in the millions. He was still making millions doing it. Don't get me wrong. But by the process of doing this kind of stuff, you can turn your perspective and your life around all at the same time. Now, again, not easy. You have to do the work. You have to get up. You have to, you can't just be expecting it to happen to you. You have to get up and do it yourself. And if you don't, it's just not going to happen for you. Sorry, it's not going to happen for you. No one's going to wake up, go like this, beaten. Oh, I need to find that one person who has the motivation to do something. I'll just know it when I see them. No one's going to do that. No one's going to walk by you and go like, whoa, that guy's got something. I can see it with this vision that I have. It's him. I'm going to go to him and do it, or her to do it, whatever. That's not going to happen. How you prove that to someone is by being consistent, by doing the work, and making sure that you're doing everything you can do to get those eyes on you, to be honest. So if you try, you'll either learn something. So for example, if you just try, if you just do it, I used to think like this, well, what's the worst that could happen, right? The worst that could happen is nothing could happen. For example, if you do the research, if this happened, the worst thing that could happen is nothing could happen. You could return your money or return what you were looking for, right? Or the absolute best could happen. So you have 0 to 100. So say you have a successful podcast, video, book, whatever, video game stream, whatever you have, that could be successful. It only takes one person of importance to catch an eye, but you can't do it if you're not doing anything with it, right? If you're taking the information, you're keeping it for yourself, or you're not doing anything with it, or you're not catching eyes with it, then what are you actually doing with it, right? What's the point of knowing the information if you're not going to use it or share it? So not only is this information important, but taking the information and putting it to practical use is the more important part of this. So if anything, my conclusion and my end all for you guys today is to do it yourself. Do the research. Go out there, work your ass off, find the information, find people. Like example, like I said, I found John C. Bogle. I'm getting all of his information. He's the founder of Vanguard, but he doesn't run it anymore. But anyway, he has fantastic information on the stock market, investing, dividends, things like that. You have Warren Buffett. You have a bunch of these people that I've just found by just looking up best investors of the stock market. Put it into Google, you find these people, spend 30 minutes on Google looking them up. If they've got books, go to Amazon, purchase the book, read an ebook. And I'd say start there. You'll find out pretty quickly if you like the information, if you like to hear about it, if this is your topic, you'll know pretty quickly. It's something that keeps me going and thriving, and it's in my brain. It's like a heartbeat. It's continually moving. I have to, just learn more, know more, read more. But so that'd be my homework for you guys. Would be to focus on finding a niche for you, and if this is it, you can comment below if you want some resources. I'll put some links in the description. I'll make sure that you guys get all the stuff that you need, because again, it doesn't take a million ideas to make you, I don't want to use the word successful, but to make you, I guess the importance would be to be happy and proud of yourself with your achievements, with your goals, with your life. It doesn't take a million ideas. It just takes one to commit to. And if you can find a niche, and if I can help you provide an area of expertise, not expertise for me, I'm just saying an area where you can become an expert, just to open an eye, because I'm super thankful to everybody who's ever posted something important on Instagram, not like, a selfie of, not like a selfie, but all the people who are putting out information for free information, just, even if it's to take me to your page to look at you and to go through more information, that still led me to a path where I can find that on the internet, or I can find that in a book or a specific topic, right? So if I can do any kind of that little tiny importance and put my 2 cents into this microphone, into the world, then I'd be super blessed to do that. But again, take action, do the research, read the fucking book, and let me know if you like it. Okay? Alright. Good morning. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye from BHE.